Searching the internets?
Yes, and she found you, and you're here. Is that a pillow that I see next to you that's so wonderfully decorated?
Very proud of this pillow. I didn't decorate it, but yeah, it's the state of California. Find
Oh,
you, Joseph.
wow.
Uh-oh. Searching. Yep.
Where would you
All
even
right,
get that?
we are on YouTube Landia. You can.
Women's bookstore. Okay. All right, we return to open session at 7:18 p.m. with nothing to report having occurred in closed session. Next up is public comment, oral communication, not agenda items. The public, including public attending a teleconference location, are invited to address the board regarding items not listed on the agenda. No individual presentation shall be for more than 3 minutes, and the total time for this purpose shall not exceed 15 minutes. Ordinarily, board members will not respond to presentations and no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to staff following a presentation. Please turn in the request to address the OPA Board of Directors form and submit it in order to address the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors. Do we have any public comments?
Not on non-agenda items.
All right, then we will move on to consent items. And under consent, we have 2 items. They are minutes from the regular meeting of the OPA Board of Directors on August 13th, 2020, and the OPA Personnel Report. It is recommended the board approve consent items A and B. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve consent items A and B.
And do I have a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. We now move on to 6 items scheduled for presentation. Presentations are limited to 10 minutes. First up is the OPA Financials Report, June and July 2020 with Ms. Parikh.
Hi, Amita.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you. Hope everyone's doing well.
You're a co-host.
Okay, perfect.
You said that like it was something mean.
You're a co-host.
You're co-host. Well,
All
Garrett's the co-host
responsibility.
too. Garrett Bridges, co-host.
Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yep.
Okay, so this presentation is focusing on how both schools ended last fiscal year. These are the unaudited numbers. So they haven't gone through the audit process yet, but this is where we anticipate both schools to end based on all of the information we have. So just starting off with SOC, the unaudited actuals for last year, the school came in with about a $1.3 million operating surplus. This is $191,000 better than the previous forecast that we last presented to you, which was about a $1.1 million operating surplus. In terms of our fund balance, as we're going into these years of uncertainty, important to know what our reserves are. So at the end of last year, we're anticipating about a $2.7 million operating surplus a fund balance for SOC of 2.7 million and 40% of expenses. So that's definitely a really stable fund balance as we're getting into the next few years where there is a lot of uncertainty in terms of funding levels and deferrals. In terms of the specifics on why things have changed since we last presented to you, so you can see on here we did end about $192,000 better than the previous forecast, and the biggest drivers of savings was on the expense side. So for SOC, the legal fees had been trending low most of the year, and so we did ultimately see about $107,000 in savings for legal fees at SOC. For compensation and benefits, we saw $53,000 in savings. This is primarily related to health benefits and retirement benefits that were trending low, and we had been conservative in adjusting that. And so those ended up resulting in some savings at the end of the year. And then books and supplies is $47,000 in savings, which is related to textbooks and office supplies and non-instructional materials. Some of these areas we had left a placeholder with kind of some of that uncertainty with distance learning and how everything was going to end the year. But we ultimately didn't end up needing all of the funds that we had put in placeholders for. So those were the big drivers in terms of savings. There were also some small adjustments in services and operating for a total of $9,000 in savings. So primarily driven by special ed contractor savings there is where we saw. In terms of the offsetting items, there were just some small adjustments in terms of revenues at the end of the year based on rates. So one of the rate adjustments was the lottery rate. So you get a per ADA amount from the state from the lottery revenues, and that came in lower with everything going on at the state level. So that was something that came in lower. So we had some adjustments there. And then depreciation expense actually came in $12,000 higher. We do our annual review of your fixed assets at the end of the year and realized there was some assets that were being depreciated over a longer period of time than what their useful life really should be. And so we just made that consistent across what the useful life should be for all of those assets. So that resulted in a true up this year, but it'll ultimately be more equal in the future years. For SV, we saw a similar but not as drastic adjustment at the end of the year. So for SV, we were projecting a $493,000 operating surplus. The unaudited actuals show an operating income of $565,000, which is about $72,000 better than what we had previously forecasted. Again, when we look at the fund balance, we have about almost 2.5 million for SV. So it's a solid fund balance and reserves with almost 42% of expenses. So that's really solid in terms of going into these next few years. In terms of the adjustments, they were fairly similar, but just at a different scale compared to SOC. So we did see compensation and benefits. We saw savings of about 42,000. So this was similar around health benefits and retirement benefits that we saw savings. Books and supplies was similar in terms of supplies we didn't ultimately need to use. Same with services and operating. Here, the adjustment was a little bit larger at 29,000, primarily driven through savings in terms of special ed contract costs that we didn't see come in terms of the invoices, and then some adjustments in terms of the facility related costs. And then in terms of our revenues here, we did see a negative adjustment of about 38,000 here, which is related to adjustments in terms of year-end rates around LCFF and lottery. So ultimately, we ended the year with about $565,000 surplus at SV. In terms of our June check and credit card register, there actually wasn't a lot on the June register that we flagged, but we did, since this is the end of the year, a lot of the June invoices get paid in July. So during our review of the June financials, there was a few essentially checks that we noticed both in June and July that we flagged as areas that exceeded what we were anticipating. So there was, in terms of SOC at the top, we had some expenses in terms of repairs and maintenance that came in higher. Ultimately, we had savings in services and operating, so there was expenses to offset that. We had some legal services at SV that went over the forecast there, but as we mentioned, SOC had savings on the legal expenses. Human operated LLC, we had around marketing and student recruitment that went over what we were forecasting for that cost, and so that was something that came in. And then Waxy Sanitary, that was also something that at both schools we saw that come in, but ultimately we had savings on supplies, so kind of though we exceeded it, we still had savings in the supply category, like the general bigger supply category. And then lastly, just since we're at year end, it's good to be aware of what's on your balance sheet outside of just your operating income and your fund balance. So on here, I just wanted to flag a few things. This is consolidated between the two schools. And what it compares is last year at this point compared to this year at this point where you're at. The biggest thing that I'll mention is that your cash balance is really strong. It's $2.6 million higher than it was at this point last year. And then the other thing to note is that you do have quite a few prepaid expenses. So those are expenses that you've paid already that are going to be expensed over the next several years, along with fixed assets. And both of those items will be spread across the next several years as we're paying. For example, the prepaids is around curriculum expenses that we paid for multi-year curriculum. And so we'll be spreading that cost over the next few years. So just to be aware of that. But overall, in terms of your fiscal health, you're really liquid, which is really good in terms of having a good cash balance going into years of deferrals. So looking really strong at that in that sense. So that's what I have for the presentation. Are there any questions on any of that?
Any questions? All right.
Rita, can you forecast a little bit about economic uncertainties for education in the coming years? You know, again, we talked about not really something V-shaped, but something U-shaped. I think there's a lot that we don't know and we're planning for in the next few years, since we are a tax-based entity in California. So we are subject to the most vulnerability. It looks like, you know, we're kind of healthy, but in terms of kind of like the we have short-term and then long-term potential areas of insecurity. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So in the short term, in this next year, we are anticipating deferrals starting in February. So those are basically going to require us to have cash reserves in order to be able to pay for our normal expenses without the state sending us those deposits. And then going into the next few fiscal years after that, the state is starting out in debt. So with all of those deferrals, they have to pay those out at some point. And so in order to, you know, balance the budget eventually, it's going to either result in rate cuts, which means less revenue, or continued deferrals. The last recession, we saw deferrals, you know, 3, 4, 5 years out. And so, and some of the worst years after the recession were actually a few years after the recession started. So not necessarily anticipating that next year is going to be the worst year, but potentially that, you know, 2, 3 years down the road, we're going to be seeing rate cuts and even more deferrals. And we're already anticipating significant deferrals this coming year. So definitely, you know, having these reserves and being able to build upon those is going to be important to make sure that we remain liquid and we are able to invest in the, you know, in the curriculum or the different technology that we need in order to adapt to the learning situation right now. So so definitely a lot of uncertainty. We're based off of how much revenue the state can get in terms of tax revenue, and that determines, you know, how much funding we get. And so, so seeing how that all plays out over the next few years will be key.
All right, any additional questions? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Parikh. Up next is the OPA Chancellors Report, Mr. Bridges and Mrs. Alvarado.
So now that we're in a virtual world, you guys get to see a little bit of some of the things that we just moved into, right? I'm sure many of you guys have seen some emoji classrooms, Bitmoji classrooms, and teachers doing this. We didn't want to feel left behind. So we as chancellors wanted to make sure we had one as well. Actually, Mr. Bridges encouraged me, highly encouraged me, and persuaded me into creating my own as well. So here we are. So Mr. Bridges is gonna start with—
I'm good. I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. I've only been doing Zoom for how many months now, and it got lost. So Welcome to the board update. I guess it's been a super exciting and busy, what are we at, 7 days now since we started the school year. And before, we begin the presentation, I think, Denise would like to, just thank all of our professors. They've worked around the clock. They've worked super hard to make sure that our students are receiving exciting and engaging lessons. And, without them, I think we wouldn't be where we are as an organization. We've had many parents come in and out of the office within the last 6 days, just raving about our staff and our teachers and what's going on. So those are really exciting and great things to hear. But first, we had on the 19th, both school sites held your Meet Your Administrator meeting. And during those meetings, we had 3 separate sections with grade spans. We reviewed schedules, attendance, the different types of learning that parents could expect to see during our virtual learning. We had some information about the start of enrichments and clubs and grading. And this year what we did is we also pre-recorded the presentation and provided it to our families the night prior to the live meetings to give our families an opportunity to preview the information and then even included a link for them to submit questions prior to the meeting. We wanted to make sure that families that were not able to make the live event still received the information and were able to ask questions during the meeting. All right, the following day, or no, also that day, sorry, we had our Meet Your Class Icebreaker activity with our professors and their students. These were about 45 minutes long. This was the first time that the students were able to sit down and meet their teachers, to see their classmates for the year. And it was just fun and an exciting environment as we're clicking through these different activities. The kids picked off right where they left off. They understood the Zoom expectations. They knew exactly how to unmute themselves and turn their cameras off. So it was just a nice transition into the beginning of the school year. And as you see here, each professor planned their own type of icebreaker activity. And then on the following Thursday and Friday, we had your Meet Your Professor. Unlike prior years, right, where we would have an on-site Meet Your Professor, this was done virtually. And we changed things up a little here. We gave each family unit an individual time slot, approximately 15-20 minutes, to sit down and have a conversation with their professor. This meeting was well received by both our professors and their families. And we really look forward to incorporating this type of activity in the following years as well. Our professors learned a lot about their students, and it's great to have an opportunity for parents to have a one-on-one conversation with their teacher prior to the school year. So this was one of those unique, different activities that we wanted to bring to our families this year. And then we have our first day of instruction. So these are some pictures that the staff took. Our staff likes to take their beginning of the year grade level pictures. We have three different activities with students on the first day. And again, it's great to be able to see the smiling faces, to hear the students again, to see the interaction between the teachers. And it's great to see a professor or a teacher come into the office after they're done with a Zoom session and just put their hands up in the air in excitement, said, I did it, I got through it. So the teachers are super excited, they're super patient, and so are the kids. And then I will let Ms. Alvarado round out the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. So I just want to echo what Mr. Bridges shared. Without our teachers, I don't know where we would be. They are amazing at both campuses. They're dedicated. They're working so hard, long hours, but they're so excited to start the year. And one of the things that we wanted to share with you guys is some of the virtual classroom setup, right? Over the years, we usually share what their classroom looks like. You're able to walk into the teachers' classrooms and see what they look like. but because of distance learning, our setups are very, very different. These are just examples of what the classroom setups are for some of our teachers who work on campus. And our teachers have the option at both campuses to either work from home or work on campus. And we'll continue to share at the next board meeting some of those pictures that our professors will share with us about what their virtual classroom setup looks like. So the next one. We are proud to share that we had our first ELAC meeting, and the ELAC meeting, or ELAC, stands for English Learner Advisory Committee. And we had our first one on Tuesday via Zoom. Our attendance was at 31 people, including family, staff, and some other students that joined us as well. This was a great turnout for usually in the past, they haven't been as this large of a turnout. So our goal this year is to continue to increase that number. Ms. Didion, who is our teacher on special assignment, who supports our ELD students, and these are students who speak English as a second language and need additional support. She led this meeting. Our goals for this year were shared by Ms. Didion. Our LPAC procedures, the results, and current testing situation was also shared, that we have restrictions and that we will continue to test our students and work with our families to make sure that we keep everyone safe and that we do everything we can to support our families. Dr. Kernan also reviewed the LCAP goals around the ELD, and thoughts as well about moving forward. And then our parents were able to ask questions about testing and about how their child will be supported this year through distance learning. And our next meeting is November 10th at 5 p.m. So any parent who has a student whose English is a second language is welcome to attend, any family. And so please join us on November 10th. We know that this entire situation of distance learning has been difficult, especially with, childcare. So we do offer, the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club is at both campuses offering full day and half day support. So for more information, to get a little bit more information for each of those programs, both of our websites and also the main website has information on how to register and what the program offers and fees and any other information you may want to know about their safety procedures. And then upcoming events, we are so excited. This, although we're in virtual learning mode in our model, has not allowed us to, or would not allow us to be on campus and have clubs the way that we used to in the past. We will continue to provide students with enrichment and clubs, and those will be starting on September 8th, and they will be offered by grade span, so TK through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, and 6th through 8th grade. Mr. Bridges and I will be sending more information to parents this Sunday, with the specifics and a little bit more about what type of clubs are offered. I was going through the list earlier today, and there's a lot of fun activities that we are offering. I mean, our teachers are getting creative. You will get to see this Sunday. Take a look at the list, and we will be providing you guys with information on how to get more information, how to sign up. So students will have an option of attending. It's an optional program, the enrichment program in the clubs, but I know that those will be successful. They will have lots of attendance because last year we had many students attend these enrichment programs. And then the last thing before communication, can you go back, Mr. Bridges?
I can try.
University orientation. So September 2nd is the SV University orientation, and on September 3rd will be for SOC. We will have a minimum day on both days for both campuses, and the information and details will be sent on this Sunday's message. And then the last thing, communication. Communication is key. We've shared that before. We will continue to stress that out. Weekly Chancellor messages will continue to be sent. School web pages are running, they're being updated right now by our staff, by our professors. Our social media, please follow us on Instagram. We have our own SOCS in SV, but we also have Facebook, which is a combined effort.
And I just want to add thing about the enrichment clubs, if I can. What's great is that students aren't locked into an enrichment club for the trimester, right? They're able to jump back and forth week to week and try different types of enrichment activities. So we're super excited about it, as Ms. Alvarado was saying. Our staff is super excited about it. That they keep asking about what kind of clubs they can run, what materials they need. So we're super excited for the enrichment opportunities in September. And that is it. Thank you very much for listening to Ms. Alvarado and myself, and I will stop sharing and mute.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments from the board? All right, thank you very much for all of your work getting ready for what sounds like it has been a very successful kickoff to the school year. Next up is C, the Open Instruction and Student Services Report. Dr. Kernan and Ms. Marks.
To see the floor right now to Dr. Kernan. And Amy, you're unmuted.
All right. So now that I'm unmuted, I'll start. So, so now that the principals have, or the chancellors have both kind of gone over what the start of the school year looked like, we had a really successful beginning to the school year, even though we were fully virtual. But we started off really strong on August 19th through 21st. Again, we had Meet Your Professor and Meet Your Administrator days, and those went really well because all of the students and parents were able to kind of meet their teachers in a one-on-one setting, since they aren't able to actually, be with them in person. It really provided a more personalized approach to doing Meet Your Professor. So I did it myself, and it was great just getting to be able to kind of just chat with your professors for just a couple of minutes, just to kind of get to know them and have them get to know your students. So classes then began this Monday, August 24th. We have had extremely good attendance at all of our classes. Our kids are coming, they're excited to be there, excited to see their teachers and their classmates. And our two registrars have been reaching out to families who have had absences, just to make sure that they don't have any technology issues, to make sure that they, have received all of the information about their students' classes and are able to get on. So we really want to make sure that we are providing opportunities for all of our students to participate in all of the different classes that are available to them. As well as all of our enrichment opportunities. Students in TK through 5 can participate in music classes. Our students in 4th through 8th can participate in world language. And then starting up after Labor Day, everybody will have, like Mr. Bridges said, the opportunity to participate in some really fun enrichment experiences, from drawing to coding and esports and cosmic yoga. So there's all sorts of fun things that students can participate in that allow them to be more social and have some fun on Zoom and interact with other classmates. And one thing that we're doing with these enrichment classes also that's exciting is having them open to students from both campuses. So it's providing the students with a lot more options for enrichment and clubs, and also allowing them to interact and socialize even with a different group of kids maybe than they are used to interacting with at their own school campus. So really trying to provide those opportunities and provide those more social experiences for students. All of our students have schedules that they can access through Aries. It's really set up almost like a high school schedule where students have their classes scheduled in, making it a little bit more structured and easier for parents to be able to know exactly when their students should be in particular classes, and then providing those Zoom links through Google Classroom. So I think it is much easier for students and parents this year to figure out when their classes are, how to get into their classes, and how to, and you know, just to kind of navigate all of that information from home. So again, university orientation is on September 2nd and 3rd. So we're excited to have that happening as well. One thing that everybody has some questions about lately is the county monitoring list from the state. So Orange County is currently, has been taken off the statewide county monitoring list. We've been off since last Sunday. So there's certain criteria that determine who's on the list and who's not. So it has to do with the case rate, the cases per 100,000, the positivity rate, the increases in hospitalization rates, and the number of, or the percentage of ICU beds and ventilators that are available. So Orange County did drop below that threshold. In order for schools to start planning on reopening, Orange County needs to stay off of the list for 14 consecutive days. So we are on day 5 today. So that would mean that Orange County needs to stay off the list for another 9 days, which puts that kind of right after Labor Day, that we would be kind of starting to assess being able to come back in more of a hybrid model where students could be on campus for a portion of the day. But like always, safety is definitely our main priority. So we're going to really keep watching the data and try to determine what the safest option is for our staff and families if Orange County does stay off the monitoring list for the next 9 consecutive days. So in order to start planning for that, for the ability to be able to go back in a hybrid model, we're going to be sending out a survey next week that we are asking that all parents complete. It's actually more of sort of a required choice form for parents to choose whether they would like their student to participate in a hybrid model if we are able to provide that, or some of our families I know really don't feel comfortable sending their students back yet. And so if that is the case, if they want to keep their students in that virtual learning model. So, so this information, a lot of other districts are doing the same types of surveys, and some actually have already done them. Some are doing them now to try to plan for a possible return to a hybrid learning environment. So we just need to have all of that information for our planning purposes so that we can determine what exactly that model will look like and which students are going to want to stay on the virtual model and which students would want to return if we are able to. So all plans for our hybrid learning model would follow what we outlined in our school reopening planning guide that's available on the website. So all of the safety precautions and kind of what that hybrid learning model would look like are available there on the website for anybody who would like to take a look at. So, so that survey will be going out the 1st of next week, and we're asking that parents complete that survey before next Friday, so we can start compiling that data and determining more specifically what our plans could look like if we were to be able to go back in the future. But again, as we've kind of talked about the whole time, we do want to make sure that we can do it in a safe way for all of our staff and students. And we also want to do it in a way that is very planned out and organized. And so we would try to do that during some sort of a natural break where it was a little bit longer than just one weekend to be able to flip everybody over to that hybrid model. So there's a couple of natural breaks coming up in the next couple of months. And so we would be looking at those as times to possibly do that. Another piece of exciting news is tonight we will be submitting for the board's approval our charter petition for the Saddleback Valley campus. And the biggest piece of exciting news about this year submitting our charter petition is that we are asking for a 7-year renewal. Saddleback Valley actually meets all of the criteria to be able to get a 7-year renewal under the new regulations under AB 1505. So we are hoping to be the first school in Orange County to be able to receive this great distinction of having a full 7-year renewal. And it's really based on the fact that we are, in the top tier of academic performance at Saddleback Valley. So both math and ELA were on the dashboard in that blue category that puts us at the very top across the state, the top tier of schools and academic performance. So we're really excited to present the petition tonight and then be able to present it to the Orange County Department of Education on September 2nd. And get that process going to hopefully again get a 7-year renewal for our Saddleback Valley campus. So that is something that I know everybody has been looking forward to, and we're really excited. And we are hoping that we'll be able to get that full 7-year renewal. So thank you so much. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
None.
None. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kernan. Up now is item 7, board reports, comments. Ms. Travis, do you have any comments?
Well, I just want to give a big shout out to our admin team and our teachers for all the hard work they've put in to really kind of open the school and distance learning. I know that was no easy undertaking, and it's exciting to see how the school year will unfold and how much effort's been put into getting it going already. So thank you all for all your hard work.
Definitely. Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I'd like to say everything that Delight said, plus what I see out in society and in the government and the news seems like a lot of do this and do that and go here and go there and a lot of back and forth. And I really appreciate the stability that's come from OPA and the consistent communication and we're really staying the course and we're really making sure that safety is our primary concern. And I think that's wonderful. And it's really easy to get distracted by, all these options and all these new things. And, people get super passionate about a particular topic. And so I really appreciate you staying the course. So thanks for doing that. Safety first.
Oh, I'm just going to go ahead and second everything that both of you said. And let us move now into item 8, Executive Director's Report.
Hello, good evening. I want to provide, and I've been providing evidence of exceptionalism at OPA, and I want to call your attention to several ways in which our staff have worked tirelessly to maintain and improve operations at OPA these past few weeks. I think part of our exceptionalism has to do with the strength, the talent, the professionalism, the collaboration, and the student focus of our staff. They continue to champion OPA as an exceptional option for education. And I know I'm flipping champion from a noun to a verb because we champion exceptionalism. So that's something that I'm going to continue to provide evidence to you about. Our maintenance and custodial staff. Let's talk about unsung heroes. Maintenance technician Luis Ornelas provides excellent service to SOC and Saddleback Valley. Our custodians are Alex Guzman, who's new to Saddleback Valley, and Oscar Ariano, who's been at Saddleback Valley a number of years, our veteran. I want you to understand that they're extremely flexible about working on both campuses and respond where needed. They have been coordinating our PPE inventory. They have done extra deep cleaning and disinfecting plexiglass installations this week and last week around campus. Extremely heavy workload, and with the opening of the virtual pieces, lots of heavy lifting is literally, and have been coordinating summer vendors in terms of making sure that our facilities are sanitized. So there's been just, you don't see them every day, but our custodial and our maintenance crew have been exceptional at doing these things. I also want to point out how exceptional our HR manager, Ava Epanisic, sorry, Ava, has been. The staff and recruitment of top talent to Oxford Preparatory Academy has been amazing in terms of her efficiency and getting the interviews set up and, offers sent out. She's been tenacious in her work to create a transition to a payroll portal. Hello, we finally have a bridge to a 21st century model where we have an automated payroll portal and payroll coordination of benefits enrollment and supporting work in all HR functions. Again, her customer service orientation has been amazing. Purchasing and accounting, our accounting specialist, Derek Wynn, he has purchased all of our PPE, personal protective equipment. He's vetted all open vendors, coordinated accounting functions. He always works with a bottom line in mind for our organization and our schools, with economy and efficiency in mind, but quality as well. I would be remiss in not pointing out Joel Ortiz, who is coordinating all of our information technology. He is at the heart of setting up Chromebooks, distribution. It's a huge operation right now, as you can imagine. He supports virtual learning for parents and students and teachers and staff. He ensures that our software and hardware installation and updates are on track, and he just works tirelessly to support both schools in terms of students and staff. These are unsung folks that you may not see frontline, but they are just seminal operations, and they do that so well. Office managers, Hadley and Jennifer have been tremendous. Kelly at SOC, our registrars, Liz and Auralia, and our health technician, Denise Ettinger. They've done tremendous work in terms of preparing for the new school, transferring information from lottery to the first day of school, their parent support. They answer tons of questions every single day. They process all required documentation and immunizations, always with a smile. Customer service is important to OPA. And I just want to thank them for championing our school every single day. With that, I want to conclude my comments. And it's about, again, providing evidence of our exceptionalism. And our staff and you may not see what they do, but they are critical to contributing to our exceptionalism every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marks.
And Raymond.
And Raymond. Up next is item 9, items scheduled for action. The first one up is A, approve revision to the 9th amended bylaws of Oxford Preparatory Academy. Local Legal Counsel has updated section 7, board of directors of the 9th amended bylaws of Oxford Preparatory Academy, and has recommended the board approve action agenda item A. Although I understand we have a late arriving revision to that. So do we have a motion?
Actually, I think we need to address consent items,
Well,
Chairman Haney.
We did.
So let's go back.
I thought we approved the consent items.
We did approve the consent items.
Oh, okay. I am so sorry. We did.
No problem.
It's been a long week for me. Okay. So thank you.
Not a problem. Unless myself or Ms. Travis or Mr. Jackson change their mind.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm so sorry.
I'm hoping it's for this and not to change your mind on the consent items.
No.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for the consent or the agenda item A for the bylaws.
That sounds fantastic. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Ms. Marks, did you want to present on this for?
I do. Published in our board agenda materials are some changes. I would like to amend those changes upon a second review. Again, they're per legal counsel, but also looking at what realistically is going to work for Oxford Preparatory Academy. Amy, I'm hoping you have the latest. Section 6 about filling board vacancies. Really keeping everything intact, but changing just the fact that we'll be posting a notice to advertise that we have vacancy for board members on the website. We have like physical, we have various ways of advertising, but I really want to really get it down to a fine point of advertising our vacancies on our website for 30 days. So we get qualified applicants. And again, following the procedures we have in place for the nominating committee. And in terms of section 12, looking at providing, I don't know if we can scroll down to that, midterm vacancies are a bit different. We need more urgency on that and looking at kind of a different process where the board can appoint a midterm vacancy a bit differently and more quickly. So we come to quorum and are being able to function as a board, and that would be section 12. So we're looking at some slight revisions to what we proposed initially in this board action. And I think the revisions to this are changed. And again, just to restate, we would like to keep really everything intact in section 6, except for changing the fact that we would really like to solely advertise the vacancies on website, and we'll of course mention them in our board meetings. And then in section 12, looking at the filling board vacancies per a midterm board vacancy, which is a bit quicker process that we need to fill board vacancies. And those vacancies would be filled for the current year, and then looking at having a 2-year term after that. So
the question that I have about this is, it doesn't seem like there's a material revision. We're saying we're not going to post physically at the school sites. I get it, right? Especially now.
Mm-hmm.
But where it says we're eliminating sending an email to parents and staff, why are we doing that? Is that extra burden for us? What does that do? It doesn't seem like a big burden.
My concern is the email won't be able to come to all all parties. I think traditionally, I think posting it on the website and having our chancellors mention that in our updates. I think that would be really sufficient. Again, looking at the bylaws that we approved previously, ninth, we're looking at least a parent who's from SOC and Saddleback Valley, and then looking at an extremely robust and inclusive board that may include members that are just not part of our internal community, but the external community as well.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I think that's all wonderful. I'm just looking here specifically at the red stuff.
Yeah.
And the red stuff, the only thing I see here that's significant is we're alleviating sending an email. And
Correct.
So is it hard to send an email?
It's not hard to send an email, but it's not a sure way. We certainly can send an email.
Because we're spreading the net. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. We certainly have the ability to do that. And again, if that's the board's desire or you want to amend that, again, we're creating a revision to the policy, and we want to make sure that everybody is informed. So that's, again, that's a possibility the board can determine at this point.
Well, I'm trying to balance that. So if our goal is, with what you said, I totally agree, that we want to spread the net wide. We want everybody to know. We want to encourage people to participate and step forward. We want that. And so I'm just a little bit nervous that putting it on the website might not be enough. And so I'm trying to balance what's the burden of sending the email with what's the benefit of not doing it? Is it going to make it, is sending the emails at a 12-hour delay, or is that take, and I don't know.
Hey, Raymond, can I maybe insert what I think might be one of the issues?
Yeah, please.
What's set forth here is your bare minimum you have to do.
Okay.
You could do over and above. I mean, we could hire a guy in a sandwich board or ring a bell in front of the school and advertise that we have an opening if we wanted to.
Okay, I'm liking
There's
that.
nothing that says that we couldn't do the emails in addition to. The reason that I'm concerned about the email being in there is what's to stop someone from coming forward later and saying, I never got the email. Your servers didn't work. This wasn't valid notice. This wasn't a valid selection of a board member.
Mm-hmm.
So if we keep it to things that are much easier within our control, and then as a matter of best practice, we announce it at board meetings. We send out as part of our regular communications. Our chancellors send out the communications. We can get the word out there, but in terms of the bare minimum to make sure that we're not vulnerable to anyone ever coming forward and saying, I didn't get the email.
Well, I don't think it says in here, thank you for that clarification, by the way. And I don't look at us writing amending articles for Delight and for you, but what comes after Delight and you, and to make sure some other board doesn't sneak a friend in because they didn't let people know. And I'm looking at Raymond very personally and saying, would I know if you posted something on the website? Probably not. I'm not subscribed to changes or whatever, but if you sent it out via email, I would most certainly receive that. And I don't feel like it's saying, I mean, obviously I'm not an attorney, but it doesn't say you have to send an email to every person and confirm they got it, as much as it is just send an email. And if we can say, look, we sent the email, maybe you were on the list, maybe you weren't on the list, but the email went out. Maybe there's some way we can massage the words so that future boards, and I don't want to make this into something it's not, right? This is a little revision, but I just want to be sure that board seats in the future are advertised in as wide a way as possible so that as many people find out about it and say, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to throw my hat in the ring. That's all.
Can I suggest a compromise?
I love you for that.
I appreciate the affection. Is this because we need this in order to submit with the charter?
Yes.
So what if we approve it the way it is now, and we know that it's a very healthy practice for bylaws to be reviewed on a regular basis, to just be cleaned up, streamlined. If we were to direct staff to work with legal counsel to do a review of our bylaws, and to modernize it, clean it up, and to look into this issue specifically and bring us back at some point in the not too distant future, an updated bylaws that we could review and adopt that would address this specifically.
Love it.
I would like that, but I think the biggest thing is to me, it's not so much about sending the email. It's about making sure that it's promoted in general OPA communication. And I think that there's something to what Raymond's saying regarding that we could maybe amend it to this and also do what you requested about the entire bylaws. Cause I agree. I think there's a lot that we could be doing to make our bylaws better than they are. But I do think that sharing it out in general OPA communication would be helpful, you know, to make sure that we're trying to cast the wide net as possible.
So we could, instead of just taking this out, add in or change what is crossed out to be on the school website and sharing through general OPA communications at least 30 days prior to the appointment.
I think that's too vague.
That is kind of vague, yeah.
Because now someone will say, oh, you put it on Facebook. I don't use Facebook.
It doesn't matter. It's been disseminated out.
But no, because the standards is your general OPA community.
Mm-hmm.
I could argue I don't use Facebook because I don't want Mark Zuckerberg to know what I'm doing. So I don't think you could say that. I mean, I think you have to have, I mean, if you look at one of those bylaws, they'll say, we're going to provide you communication at the fall. You know, for example, if we were shareholders, they would say communication to the address you have listed on your stock registry. So I guess we could say to your email that you have in your school registration.
Your Aries email.
Your Aries email.
So what I do with my ED message is I give it to our chancellors and to distribute. And again, we're looking at executive director shall notify. So one is posting it on the website, and secondly, looking at providing that information to our chancellors to include in communication as vacancies occur.
But Jill, I'm okay with, I mean, with that additional layer of clarity there, I'm totally okay saying with these revisions, followed up with a direction to staff that says, hey, let's take a look at this and see what are best practices, how can we spread it, how can we formalize that, and then we'll look at this, you know, in January, February, you know.
This is part of, you know, our discussion about what was relevant previously and what works for us and is providing transparency and accountability.
So we have a motion
in our needs currently.
So we got a motion on there to approve as presented.
Mm-hmm.
And unless we want to make a revision to it, I think we're ready to move forward. Yeah.
You could approve it and just direct staff to then add it to be reviewed.
Okay.
By January.
Sounds good to me.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously.
Did you see how quickly Amy brought that down? Did you see how that was incredible?
Bam.
Yep.
Moving on.
Next is B, approve appointment of candidate to the OPA Board of Directors. The nominating committee of the OPA Board of Directors may, in its discretion, vote to appoint one or more qualified applicants to serve as a member of the board. It's recommended the board approve action agenda item B. And I believe do we have any comment on this?
We do have a comment on this from Daniella Agarwal.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my name is Daniella Agarwal, and I'm submitting my name for a position on the board of directors. I would like to thank each of the past and current OPA board members for their time and commitment in getting us through a difficult phase. I'm passionate about OPA and have been a parent volunteer since the second year of OPA SOC's inception in 2011. My family consists of my husband of 18 years, Ashwin, and our children, Aiden and Ava. My family and I have invested a great deal of time and effort into OPA. The reason we came to this school was to pursue a deeper and more thorough academic experience for our son, as well as ingrain the daily habits needed to become a successful student. Our son started here in 2nd grade and promoted through 8th grade. He was very involved with ASB, and his final role was as ASB president. He is currently a sophomore at Santa Margarita Catholic High School. We also have a daughter, Ava, who has been at OPA since kindergarten and is now enjoying the start of her 6th grade year with amazing teachers. I graduated from Cal State University Fullerton with a bachelor's degree in business management. I worked professionally for 10 years in various project management, consulting, and finance roles. I have worked either directly or as a consultant for large multinational companies such as IKEA, Deloitte Consulting, or Deloitte & Touche, as people might more commonly know, and Allergan Pharmaceuticals. While I enjoyed my professional career and found it fulfilling, I found a greater calling in staying home with my children for the past 13 years. I spend a significant amount of my personal time volunteering, and the last 8 years specifically at the SOC campus. The minute I started to volunteer at OPA, I found that OPA was different. I found the parents and staff exceptional, and it was exactly the type of place where my children could thrive and become successful. I started as a classroom volunteer, then a room parent, then as room parent chair for Honor Society for 2 years, and finally as the VP of Finance and Operations, with my term successfully ending in June of this year. When considering this board position, I had to take some time to work through this opportunity with my family. It's a commitment of heart and time, and I'm more than willing to take on this position because I feel passionately about this school and its people. I believe that my time here, from the minutia of everyday life to looking forward as we plan for our future, makes me an ideal candidate for the position. If given this opportunity, I am beyond excited to work with OPA families, staff, and board members. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. We need to have a motion and a second, and then we can discuss this further. Do I have a motion at this time?
I make a motion for
And
action
that
item.
motion- That's great. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Ms. Agarwal, are you willing to entertain any questions if the board has any?
Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. Are there any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions.
I thought for sure you would have one, Raymond.
No, she's pretty comprehensive. All her documentation is complete and thorough.
Okay. Ms. Travis, do you?
What are you most excited about being on the board for?
I'm really excited to just look, and we talked about strategic visions and planning, and I want to be a part of that. I think that's an important piece, and the day-to-day stuff is in my wheelhouse as well. I mean, I enjoy just knowing what's going on at the school. I've been here a long time. I'm passionate about the school, so it's all of the above. There isn't a whole lot that I'm not excited about being on the board for, except, probably there's a lot of reading involved, which I'm excited about too, but I'm sure the minutia is going to be a bit much sometimes.
It's very engrossing. I will just add this, that it somehow feel like my service on the board is intertwined with the Agarwal family, because I pulled into the parking lot, I think just as Ms. Agarwal's husband was leaving, and was there on the night that I was voted in. He was one of the finalists. But as to Mrs. Agarwal, I've had the opportunity to work with her. She was really active and a strong voice, she and her family, for getting in support of the SOC renewal. Nothing but a first-rate mind, a devoted servant to the school and our teachers, our students, and what OPA is about. Ask the right questions, thoughtful, mindful, all that you could hope for in a board member. And I know she's earned a rest after all of her time on Honor Society and everything she's done on the campus. But jealously, I think we are right to steal her and get her onto the board to strengthen us as an organization as well. So I am full-throated endorsement in favor of her joining the board.
Thank you.
So, Raymond, did you think of anything else you want to say? Question in the interim?
No, man, I thought about this a lot beforehand. I'm good.
All right, that's beautiful. All right, we're going to put this to a motion. All those in favor of approving action agenda item B, which is also known as Ms. Agarwal's joining the board of directors, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
All those opposed? Ms. Agarwal, congratulations and welcome to the board of directors of Oxford Preparatory Academy. Could not be happier for an individual to be joining us.
Yay.
So much.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
If we were in honor hall, we'd have a chair for you to come up and sit at, but we don't. So digitally, we'll welcome you. And your first official meeting will be in 2 weeks. So I'm sure Jill, Ms. Marks will be in touch with you and get you all set up with all the behind the scenes exciting things about joining the board.
Exactly. We have a checklist of information, so yes.
Okay. Next up is C, approve the petition for charter renewal for Opus Saddleback Valley. The Opus Saddleback Valley petition for charter renewal has been updated to address changes in the education code required by AB 1505. It is recommended the board approve action agenda item C. Will we have somebody speaking on this?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
presentation.
Hi, and Amy, yes. Go for it.
I'm just going to quickly kind of go through a little bit. Again, I went over a little bit of it in my previous presentation, but we're really excited to be submitting our charter to OCDE for a hopefully 7-year renewal. So really we're looking at the fact that we are a very high performing charter school. And so we do meet the criteria to be renewed for either 5 to 7 years. And because our dashboard indicators for that academic performance, which is really the main thing that they are looking at, are both blue, which means we're in the highest tier or the highest category for academic achievement. We are very optimistic that we will be hopefully the first school in California, or at least the first school in Orange County to be granted that great distinction of, again, being approved for a 7-year renewal. So, so we are going to be presenting that charter petition on September 2nd at Orange County Department of Education. Then there is a 60-day window, and then we will be holding OCDE OC Board of Education will be holding a public hearing to consider support for our charter petition. So we're hoping to have some of our SV community come out and support us. We'll be working with some of our different stakeholders to make some comments at that meeting and really show their support for this exciting time for Saddleback Valley. And then the board will look at approving the charter in December. So we are, again, really excited for this time. Our charter, we just turned in, or we just got approved a year and a half ago at SOC. And we've been really trying to align our programs at our 2 schools to make sure that we're able to really provide the highest level of academic programs for our students. And so really our 2 charters are very well aligned as well. And after that first charter at SOC, after kind of some complications in the past, being very well received by Capistrano Unified, we've made some revisions just to update it to include some of the language and requirements for AB 1505. But it is, again, very similar to the charter that we submitted for Capistrano for our South Orange County campus. And we've really streamlined the charter and made sure that it really does highlight all of the great things that we're doing at OPA. And really represents our school and the data around our school, and really what types of programs that we offer for our students and what makes us different and what makes us unique and what makes us such a great choice and such a great experience for the families that are part of our OPA community. So if you, and I'm sure that Daniella, when she's talking about reading it, will now get a chance to read through. I know she read through the SOC charter, but now she will get a chance to read through the SV charter as well. But I encourage everyone, you don't have to read it word for word because it is rather long, but to kind of look through the beginning at least of it, because it really does highlight all of the great things that are happening at Saddleback Valley and really just happening in our whole OPA community. So any questions about the charter renewal?
Any questions from the board?
Dr. Canan, may I add that the fact that this charter does not contain material revisions, and a material revision is something that is, for example, additional grade levels, additional sites, major changes. So again, we're not proposing that at this point. If there's any material revisions, that would be at a later time. And again, the changes have to do with, looking at our most recent student achievement data, eliminating some redundancies. And again, Orange County Department of Education is looking at the fact they've created a portal. So most appendices are in what we presented previously or attached previously in a charter petition are now updated and submitted through a portal. So you're going to see less of that. And, aside from the provisions of AB 1505 being addressed, again, we're looking at a charter petition, petition for renewal that right now looks like much like the initial petition that was submitted. So that's kind of the rules of the road. And I don't have any additional questions. So again, really the hard hitting like rah-rah stuff in the video, and we have for SV and just testimony will be provided in October. Right now, it's a matter of formally handing over the charter, maybe making a statement, and it's very quick and cut and dried on September 2nd.
I will tell you that in reading it, it was quite remarkable to see what OPA is doing. And I'm very excited to be at this point that we're putting our petition in to renew the charter. So it's very exciting.
We really strove to make it a very readable document, quantity versus quality. And again, the original document was hefty, but the point is like, again, we really want to go to the meat of what we provide without any revisions. So thank you for that.
The document looks good. It was thorough, but like you said, it was very readable. The words that were there have an economy of choice behind them. They don't look like they're there to make it look like we know what we're talking about. We want the content of what we're saying to stand for that. So it was, I appreciated that.
Joseph, I would enthusiastically like to make a motion to approve action item C for the petition for charter renewal for OPA Saddleback Valley.
Well, with that kind of enthusiasm, I'm hoping we'll get an equally enthusiastic second.
Oh, I'd love to second that right away.
Oh, you knew it. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, counts as an aye. All right, those opposed? This motion passes enthusiastically. Thank you very much, Dr. Canan, Ms. Marks, Mr. Barley, and everybody else, Mr. Garrett, Ms. Millette, who were active in putting this together. Your efforts definitely shone through there. That takes us to the end of the meeting now. Item 10 is adjournment. It's recommended the board adjourn the meeting of August 27th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Enthusiastically?
Second.
Enthusiastically.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. It has been a good night. Thank you very much. And we are adjourned at 8:32 p.m.
Yay.
Yay.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bon voyage. Welcome.